Hey Capricorn, I need to talk to you about something that just came through in this reading, and honestly, the energy here is incredibly revealing. I pulled cards specifically about a situation where you made a move that nobody expected from you, and the cards are showing me exactly what happened and what this means for your future. So let me just dive right in because this is genuinely fascinating. The first card I pulled is the Nine of Cups. And Capricorn, this is telling me something really specific about what you did. The Nine of Cups is often called the wish fulfillment card, but in this context, it is showing me that you chose your happiness. You made a decision that was entirely about what you wanted, not what everyone else expected from you. And I think what is so significant here is that this was probably out of character for you in some way. Capricorns are known for being responsible, for doing the right thing, for considering everyone else in the equation. But this time, you looked at a situation and you said, you know what? I am choosing me. I am choosing my contentment, my peace, my satisfaction. And the reason this hit people so hard is because they had you figured out wrong. They thought you would always put their needs first, that you would always be the reliable one who sacrifices their own desires for the greater good or for keeping the peace. The Nine of Cups here is showing me that you reached a point where you realized that your emotional fulfillment matters just as much as anyone else's, and you acted on that realization. This could be about walking away from a relationship, turning down an opportunity that everyone thought you should take, setting a boundary that people found shocking, or making a choice that prioritized your well-being over someone else's comfort. What is really interesting is that this card is in the upright position, which tells me you have absolutely no regrets about this. You feel satisfied with your decision. You feel like you finally honored yourself in a way that you had not been doing before. And that sense of inner satisfaction, that feeling of finally putting yourself first, that is what is radiating from this card. People around you might have been shocked. They might have been upset. They might have tried to make you feel guilty. But internally, you know you did the right thing. The Nine of Cups is confirming that choosing yourself was exactly what needed to happen. This was not selfish. This was self-honoring. This was you finally recognizing that your happiness is not less important than anyone else's comfort or expectations. Now, the second card is the Eight of Pentacles. And this is where things get really interesting because this card is telling me about the work you had been putting in before you made this bold move. The Eight of Pentacles represents dedication, skill development, and consistent effort. What I am seeing here is that you had been working on yourself, working on your situation, putting in effort to make things work or to improve circumstances. You were showing up, you were trying, you were doing the work. And I think what nobody realized is how much you were actually putting in. The Eight of Pentacles shows someone who is focused, diligent, and committed to getting better at something or making something work. This could have been you trying to fix a relationship, trying to make a job situation bearable, trying to maintain a friendship that was draining you, or trying to meet expectations that were honestly unreasonable. You were crafting, refining, putting in the hours, doing everything you could. But here is what the Eight of Pentacles is revealing in this position. At some point, you looked at all that effort, and you realized it was not producing the results you deserved. You were putting in Eight of Pentacles energy, but getting back maybe Two of Pentacles struggle, or even less. You were mastering something that was not worth mastering. You were perfecting a situation that was fundamentally flawed. And that realization, Capricorn, that is what led to your bold move. You recognized that all this skill, all this dedication, all this effort deserved to be directed somewhere that would actually appreciate it and reciprocate it. So when you made your move, when you walked away or set that boundary or chose differently, it was not impulsive. It was not reckless. It was the result of someone who had done the work, assessed the situation with skill and precision, and made a calculated decision that their energy was better spent elsewhere. The people who were shocked by your move did not see all those hours you spent trying. They did not see the Eight of Pentacles work you were putting in. They only saw the final decision, and it looked sudden to them, but you know it was anything but sudden. The third card is the Hanged Man, and okay, this is giving me chills because this card is explaining exactly why your move was so effective and so shocking. The Hanged Man represents a shift in perspective, a willingness to see things differently, and sometimes a period of suspension where you are not moving forward in the traditional sense, but you are gaining wisdom. What I am seeing here is that before you made your bold move, you went through a period where you were suspended between two realities. You were seeing the situation from a completely different angle than you had before. Maybe you stepped back, maybe you had a moment of clarity, maybe something happened that made you see someone's true colors, or see your own patterns more clearly. The Hanged Man is showing me that you had an awakening of sorts. You realized that the way you had been approaching this situation, the way you had been seeing this person or this circumstance, it was upside down. You had been sacrificing when you should have been standing firm. You had been giving when you should have been receiving. You had been accommodating when you should have been setting boundaries. And the Hanged Man represents that moment when everything flipped for you. Suddenly, you could see clearly. And what is so powerful about the Hanged Man in this reading is that it shows this was a spiritual or psychological shift that happened within you first, before any external action. You changed internally, your perspective transformed, and then you made your move. That is why it was so powerful. That is why it left people speechless, because it came from a place of genuine awakening, not from anger or impulse. You were not reacting emotionally, you were responding from a place of higher understanding. The Hanged Man also suggests that during this period of suspended animation, while you were seeing things differently, other people thought you were still the same old Capricorn they could predict and control. They did not realize you were having this internal revolution. They did not see that you were shifting your entire worldview. So when you finally acted on your new perspective, it came out of nowhere for them. But for you, it was the natural result of profound internal work and a complete shift in how you see yourself and what you will accept. The fourth card is the Knight of Pentacles, and this is telling me about how you executed your bold move and what the energy is like moving forward. The Knight of Pentacles is steady, reliable, methodical, and unstoppable in a quiet way. This knight does not charge in dramatically like the Knight of Wands, or swoop in emotionally like the Knight of Cups. This knight just keeps moving forward with absolute determination and practical focus. What this card is showing me is that even though your decision shocked people, the way you are handling it is very grounded and consistent. You are not being dramatic about it. You are not going back and forth. You are not second-guessing yourself publicly. You made your decision, and now you are just steadily moving forward with it. The Knight of Pentacles energy is showing me that you are building something new, something stable, something real. You are taking practical steps toward the life you actually want, rather than the life everyone expected you to live. And what is interesting is that this steady, determined energy is actually more unsettling to people than if you had been explosive or emotional. Because steady means permanent. Steady means you are serious. Steady means this is not a phase or a mood, this is a genuine change in direction. The Knight of Pentacles also represents long-term commitment, so I am seeing that you are committed to this new path you have chosen. You are not going to be swayed by guilt trips or by people trying to convince you to go back to how things were. You have set your course, and you are moving toward it with the slow, unstoppable momentum of the Knight of Pentacles. This knight always reaches his destination eventually, because he does not give up and he does not get distracted. That is the energy you are carrying right now. Patient but absolutely certain. Practical but deeply committed to your own well-being and growth. The fifth card is the Knight of Swords, and this is showing me the truth about what your bold move actually did to the people around you. The Knight of Swords is fast, cutting, intellectual, and sometimes ruthless in pursuit of truth. This card is revealing that your decision cut through a lot of illusions and false narratives that people had built up. The Knight of Swords charges forward with the sword of truth, and he does not care whose comfortable lies get destroyed in the process. What I am seeing here is that when you made your move, you exposed something. Maybe you exposed someone's manipulation. Maybe you exposed the inequality in a relationship. Maybe you exposed your own worth that people had been downplaying, or maybe you simply exposed the fact that you will not be taken for granted. The Knight of Swords energy is sharp and it is swift. Your move was precise. It was clear. There was no ambiguity about it. And I think what really got to people is that they could not argue with it. The Knight of Swords represents communication and intellectual clarity. So even if you did not say much, your actions spoke with absolute clarity. There was no room for misinterpretation. You showed people exactly where you stand and what you will and will not accept. The Knight of Swords also suggests that this happened quickly from other people's perspective. One day things seemed normal to them, and the next day you had completely changed the dynamic. They did not see it coming, because they were not paying attention to the signs, but you had been thinking about this, processing this, preparing for this. And when you finally acted, it was swift and decisive. The Knight of Swords can also represent a kind of shock or disruption to other people's mental frameworks. Your move disrupted how people thought about you, how they understood your role in their life, how they assumed things would always be. That disruption, that sudden realization that you are not who they thought you were, or that the dynamic has permanently changed, that is the Knight of Swords energy hitting them. And honestly, some people probably deserved that wake-up call. The sixth and final card is Death and Capricorn. I know this card can look intimidating, but in this context it is incredibly powerful and actually very positive for you. The Death card represents transformation, endings that make way for new beginnings, and the absolute finality of a cycle that has completed. What this card is telling me is that your bold move was not just a boundary or a decision, it was the ending of an entire chapter. It was the death of an old version of yourself, the death of a dynamic that was not serving you, the death of a pattern that needed to end. And the thing about the Death card is that it represents irreversible transformation. This is not something you can or will go back on. This is permanent change. The old way of being, the old relationship dynamic, the old version of you that people could predict and control, that is gone. And it is not coming back. The Death card is confirming that you have stepped into a completely new phase of your life. You are literally not the same person you were before this situation. You have transformed at a core level. And I think this is what people are really struggling with. They keep waiting for the old you to come back. They keep expecting you to soften or give in or go back to how things were, but the Death card is saying that is impossible. That version of you has died. You have been reborn into someone who values themselves differently, who has different boundaries, who operates from a different set of principles. The Death card is also about necessary endings. This was not just a good idea. This was necessary for your growth and evolution. Staying in the old pattern would have kept you stuck, would have prevented you from becoming who you are meant to be. The bold move you made, as shocking as it was to others, was the Death card moment you needed to experience. And now on the other side of it, you are free to build something completely new. You are free to be someone completely new. The transformation is complete. So let me bring all of this together for you, Capricorn. What I am seeing in this reading is that you made a choice to honor yourself, your happiness, your needs, after putting in tremendous effort to make a situation work. You had a profound shift in perspective that helped you see things clearly. And from that clarity, you made a steady, determined decision to change course. Your move was swift and cutting in how it exposed truths and disrupted false narratives. And ultimately, it represents a complete transformation and ending of an old chapter in your life. The reason people were so shocked, the reason this felt like such a low blow to them, is because they had underestimated you. They thought they knew what you would tolerate. They thought they could predict your responses. They thought you would always prioritize their comfort over your own growth. But you proved them wrong in the most definitive way possible. You showed them that you have limits, that you have self-respect, that you are capable of choosing yourself even when it is uncomfortable for others. And the beautiful thing that the cards are showing me is that you are not looking back. You are not second-guessing. You are moving forward with purpose and clarity. The transformation is complete, and you are building something new from a place of genuine self-honor. Does this resonate with your situation, Capricorn? I would love to hear if this reading reflects what you have been experiencing. Remember that choosing yourself is never wrong, and the people who are meant to be in your life will respect your boundaries and your growth. Thank you for being here and for trusting me with your energy today.